Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today, we are going to be making a dish called pizza beans. You may have heard about them. They've been making the rounds on the internet, and they're kind of what you would imagine. They are beans that are cooked and topped very similarly to pizza, and they sound great. But at the same time, I'm skeptical because beans, beans, I feel like beans get kind of a bad rap. They are full of protein, they're vegetarian, they're inexpensive, and you can do so many great things with them. You can keep them in the freezer, you can have them in your pantry in cans, they're super useful. So this is the attitude that I've adopted recently, and I've been trying to make as many bean dishes as possible, just for all the reasons that I've listed. So when I heard about pizza beans, I said, okay, let's check this out. And especially when I heard that the origins of pizza beans was credited to Deb Perlman, famously Smitten Kitchen, one of the earliest food blogs that I read and followed and continue to follow. Deb has so many rigorously researched, tested recipes that turn out great. I've been following her for so many years. In my journal, I have so many Smitten Kitchen recipes, but I've never tried pizza beans. So we're going to be trying it today. From my understanding, it's been recently popularized by It's Me, Kate V, and Dean Boscovich. And the saying goes, that's pizza beans. So without much further ado, let's make pizza beans. Can I share with you, first of all, before we make beans, the bread that I make? So I bake a loaf of sourdough every week, and this is my everyday slice sandwich bread, and I overproofed it. And then this is what happens when you overproof your dough and then proceed to bake it. You get this gnarly shaped loaf of bread, but it's still going to be delicious. I did break the bubble on accident when I was putting it in a bag, but isn't it great? So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about beans. In Deb's original recipe, she uses great big white beans that you can purchase either canned or you can rehydrate them and cook them yourself. And they're big and fatty and nice and meaty when you bite into them. But I've seen many versions just using the simple white bean, white navy bean, great northern bean. I think white is preferred because it makes a nice kind of color contrast to the red sauce that we're going to use. But frankly, any bean that you've got, I think will work in your pantry. But this is how I like to prepare beans of late. I like to buy bags of dried beans and cook them myself. It's more economical, and then I can store them in the freezer. So what I do to cook beans, you don't even have to soak them. You take your beans, you rinse them off in some cool water, look for any stones or any bits, give them a good rinse, place them in a pot, and then cover them with about 1.5 inches or 2 inches of water. And I place the pot onto the stove and bring that up to a boil. Meanwhile, have your oven preheated at 325, 350 degrees. Once your beans come up to the boil, turn off the heat, take the whole pot, put the cover on, and place it in your oven. For smaller beans like black beans, white beans, navy beans, cook them for about 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you want to check on your beans. You want them to be a little bit firm in the middle, not too soft. If they're soft already, then take them out. But I've found that when they're a little bit firm, just a little bit, then I cover the pot, put it back in the oven, then turn off the heat, and then let the beans completely cool in the oven. That little bit of residual heat gets them perfectly tender. So then after your beans are cooked, if you have a 1 pound bag, you should have about an equivalent of 4 cans worth of beans. I drain off most of the liquid. Then I press as much air out as I can, and then I like to flatten them like this and then freeze them flat. The reason why I like to do them flat is because they save room in my freezer, and most importantly, in my opinion, is they thaw out very quickly when you flatten them out like this. Even when they're frozen, say I only need half a bag of beans, I can crack this against my countertop and then just use half a bag and put the rest back in the freezer. Love this technique. So this is about 2 cups of white beans. So in Deb's original recipe, she cooks up a really simple sauce using carrots, onions, and celery, along with some crushed canned tomatoes. Now, you can do that if you like, but you can also skip that step and just use some jarred sauce. And I'm gonna do a little bit of a hybrid. I'm gonna zhuzh my jar sauce with some onions and some garlic. So I am making a relatively small portion here, just 1 can's worth of beans. So I'm going to use about 1/4 of an onion. And since we're putting this in the sauce, I'm gonna finely mince the onion. Because we're gonna make a layer of sauce and beans together, and then we're gonna top it with cheese and toppings, I like a little bit of onion on my pizza. So I am going to save some for the top. Okay, my pan should be hot now. Add some olive oil and my onion and 1 clove of garlic. Reduce my heat a little bit and swish that around. Don't want any color on this necessarily, just for them to get softened. While that's sauteing, I'm going to slice up some mushroom. And I'm going to use a little pepper, little sweet kind of bell pepper. I really like these little tiny ones because often I don't use an entire bell pepper in a recipe. So using a little one is great, or using multiple little ones because I have the exact amount, and I find they keep better than bell peppers. So I'm a fan of the little, I think they call them constellation peppers. All right, now I'm going to add some sauce. And I'm gonna cook this up, flavor the sauce. I might add some more sauce to my beans, depending on how saucy this gets. So I would say that's about a cup of sauce. So I've got my onions, mushrooms, and peppers prepped to the sauce. Now we're gonna dump our beans. And coat everything in sauce. Yes, I think I'm gonna need a little bit more sauce. We want this to be saucy. So Deb writes that this was inspired by baked ziti. Makes absolute sense, right? But instead of ziti, we're using protein-packed beans. I'm also gonna chop up some flat leaf parsley too. All right, this is looking great, look. Doesn't it look great? This looks like baked beans, but it's not. It's definitely more Italian inspired for sure. Okay, now we're gonna smooth our beans out. Turn off the heat. And this is like a crust, right? Not really, but kind of. Add some Parmesan. And then shredded mozzarella. This is the pre-shredded stuff because that's easy. But if you have the time, go ahead and shred some fresh stuff. Next, I'm gonna add some mushrooms. Some peppers, onion, then a little bit more parm. Okay, lovelies, now I'm going to pop this into a preheated 475-degree oven and cook it for 10 to 15 minutes until everything is bubbly and melty and golden. And then we're going to give it a taste. And I'm going to toast up some toast too, or some bread, so that we can have it on toast. Yeah, okay. Okay, lovelies, look at this. Looks so good. Bum, 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 bum. And smells amazing. Smells like pizza. Bubbly goodness. Now we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit of parsley on top. How beautiful. Boom. Lovelies, it smells so good in here. It smells very much like pizza. You've got those scents of garlic, onion, tomato, cheese. It smells great. Okay, let me get a spoon. Look at that. Yum. So, got the beans portioned out. Slice some of this bread. I'm cutting this awkwardly. Here we go. Bread still looks pretty good. Look at that inside. So I like to bake this loaf in what's called a gluten-free loaf pan, and essentially it's just a little bit narrower because gluten-free recipes don't contain any gluten, so they oftentimes don't rise as high. So if you have a narrower one, they kind of rise a little bit taller. But I find this recipe definitely contains gluten. It makes a very cute loaf. It looks more like a little mushroom, kind of like the shokopan that you can find in Japan. I really love this shape. So I use it for my gluten-loaded loaf. Anyways, makes for a very cute slice, doesn't it? So I'm not going to bother to toast this because this is freshly baked and I love the texture of freshly baked bread. And we're going to have it on that. First, let's have it straight up. Lovelies, this is looking promising. Look at this. Yeah, beautiful. Let's give it a taste. Here we go. Itadakimasu. Delicious. All the flavors of pizza with beans. The beans are a really nice backdrop to all those familiar pizza flavors. The sauce, the cheese, in my case, onions, peppers, and mushrooms. But that's pretty much where these similarities end. There's no crust. For me, a pizza is sort of defined by this crust, whether it be a soft crust, a bouncy crust, a crunchy crust, a crust. There's no crust here. We've got beans. So you've got like saucy, tomatoey beans with a cheese topping is what we got. But the flavors are reminiscent, very reminiscent of pizza, but not the textures, right? Maybe this will change if we add it a little bit of a bread crust. Really good. I really like it on a little bread delivery mechanism. The beans are very flavorful, and while you can have them on their own, for me it's a bit much. So even if you have this with a salad or some other kind of pairing, kind of mute the very saucy beans, I think that's the way to go. But this delivery mechanism is fantastic. The combination of mushrooms, peppers, and onions always reminds me of a Celeste combination pizza. I just love that combo so much. I think this would be really good with pepperoni too. And we've got our protein in here. We've got our beans right there. This one's a winner for me. I would make this again. As a lunch, this is so easy. I would even skip the onion garlic portion if you don't got the time for that. Just take some jarred sauce out of the fridge, put your frozen beans in there, warm them up, put them in the oven, top it, that's it. It's great. So yes, I can confirm the hype about the pizza beans is real. I love that there are a lot of variations and permutations you could make on this style of pizza in terms of toppings, and you can customize it in the ways that you enjoy pizza. I love that. A little bit of red pepper flakes, which I love on my pizza, fantastic. And then whatever you decide to pair it with, whether it be flatbread, toast, whatever, also gives you a lot more flexibility and customization. I mean, you won't get bored with this one. Terrific recipe, but I wouldn't think otherwise because it comes from Deb Perlman. Alrighty, my lovelies, thanks so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if there are any recipes or things that you'd like me to test out or try. And yeah, thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends, follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! I'm just gonna have my lunch right here. So good. What a mess. What a mess.